Well, 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 well. Well, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Blue King Crab's Gaming Channel, where today we're getting back into the painting. So, I have a D&D, well, not really D&D, it's a Tiny Frontiers campaign that I'm starting to run for my friends. We're starting that up, and I'm getting all the minis painted. So, we're going to be painting a bunch of these minis that came from, I think the game's called The Others, I believe, and this is the Hunger expansion. So we're going to be basically painting all of the minis, and this is the kind of quality that we're shooting for here. I did a test paint job. Let me zoom in here. Zoom. There we go. This is the kind of table quality ready paint job that I'm looking for. Kind of something like this, and we're going to be painting all of them. Now, a couple of tools that I'm going to be using is these are just soda bottle caps. I think my wife drinks a lot of root beer, and so she saves the bottle caps for me. And I have this 3D printed bottle cap holder, so I just kind of, well, if I can screw it on there, I can screw these on here, paint one, and then I can unscrew it, and then we can go to the next one just like that, right? Just so we can get a whole bunch of them done, and I don't have to dilly-dally with a bunch of different holders, just the one. I also got a 3D printed holder for Citadel paints, and specifically the paint that we'll be working with just today is the contrast paint of the Dark Oath Flesh tone, and that's going to be the base color of this particular person. Now, there's a few other paints that we'll be using, which we won't be using many. Actually, indeed, I'll show you right now the colors that we'll be using. We'll do one at a time. We'll just do just this one today. Make sure you shake these really well. A lot of the pigment settles at the bottom, so yeah, give these a heck of a shake. And to put all these on here, all I used was a bit of sticky tack. You just put some sticky tack on top of the lid, and then they stick right on there. And since we're not doing a lot of heavy brushing, they shouldn't slip off. I say shouldn't, but we'll see. So yeah, we'll just put that onto the first holder, because the second one is for the small pots. And I'm using an 8 round brush, and I got my clean water over here. I upgraded from the solo cup to the pickle jar. So, and yes, I ate the pickles, and yes, I cleaned out the jar before putting paint in there. But let's get started. So, this first coat is just going to be just this. I get my brush a little wet because sometimes I find the contrast paint just a little too thick, and that might be because I didn't shake it well enough, or who knows what. But we're just going to put this basically on everything. I mean, on everything. Starting from the bottom and working my way up slowly. This way I can pull any of that excess to a location that I kind of want more on. And then hopefully leaving some of the darker tones in those places. And I'm kind of jabbing this a bit. And we kind of have to work relatively quickly here, because we don't want it to... we don't want it to pool, and we don't want it to leave like what do they call that, like stain marks or something. So we're just kind of basically glob it on there, get it on there real quick. Oh, there's a string. See if I can get that out of there. You can probably also hear my heater in the background. That's because it is cold in my basement still. We're almost out of the winter section here, but we still got a couple more months of it being basically frigid. But once that's done, then the heater will be out of here. But and another thing is, we're just looking to make sure that we ain't got any bubbles, because if there's a bubble in here, if there's a bubble or anything like that, it'll pop eventually, and then it'll leave a huge gaping hole on the model, and it'll just be white from my base coat. And we got to make sure we get all these crevices and creases here. All the crevices and creases. And that's it. That's the first layer. And as you can see, it looks pretty dang good. These contrast paints, I tell you what, they are pretty good. But we're putting this base color on here like this, just to get a good foundation of what we want our dude to look like. I'm just trying to touch up everything, make sure I didn't miss anything, and no more bubbles. But this won't take long. I mean, I'm being a little bit, a little generous here with the attentiveness on making sure everything's exactly where I want. Actually, hold on, what am I doing here? Let's see, then we're gonna unscrew them like this, and then we'll grab the next one. Heck yeah. That was a good dollop of that. Put it in the little back pot here. And then we'll just keep on continuing. Again, we'll start from the bottom, work our way up. This way we can pull any of that excess that we have up to the top. Try to get into the bottom here, into the cracks. Like down in here where their feet is, because it's such a tiny little spot that we won't be able to paint that with any of the other upcoming colors. So it's best to hit it just with this wash, keep it dark. And then yeah, slowly just pull all the paint up into all those spots. Had a little bit of a bubble there and I didn't want it to stay. Yeah, so we're basically only doing, I think, this coat and then a highlight of a bright pink, and it's really sparse, and it might not even be able to be picked up on my camera. I don't know. I'll have to rewatch the footage. But that pink was just kind of like the high points on where basically where the contrast paint here didn't want to stick, and we'll just kind of hit it a little bit with that pink, giving it just a little bit of different variation in colors on the model. Where this is basically it right here. So like if you were like, oh well, I just want to, you know, speed paint these and then, you know, just get them ready for the table. This, after this contrast paint right here, it's probably good enough. I mean, you'd probably be happy. Paint the base black. It's a solid black, and that's not a bad color. Because these are just a bunch of like tentacles and goopy things, and you know, they don't need to be very. You could go really in detail with this guy, or these guys, but I think a little less is more in this case. So that's the next one. Man, I gotta get used to taking these off. Okay. And apparently putting the screw on. Holy cow. I'll get some more water in here. Oh, a bigger glop in here. Oh, we have to keep going back into that one. Alright. There we go. So there's a few other models that we're going to be painting. There's a big boy from this particular box set expansion, or whatever you want to call it, and there's a little one. The little one, she doesn't have much detail on her, so I don't know what we're gonna do with her. Like, I'm not that good of a painter to get all the detail, the very minute details. They're almost subtle details in her, like her face and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that this wash that we're going to be using does the same kind of stuff on her, where it just brings out all that detail and I don't have to work hard on it. That would be really nice. But it also could just be basically horrible, or not pick up everything I was hoping it would, and then we'll just have a little muted mutant, basically. I also don't want a lot of pooling on my guys, so we're gonna try and get most of those pools off of there. I want there to be a variation in color here from the white and the pools of dark, like almost like a dirt. I want there to be a good contrast between all of these. So just kind of, you know, removing a little top of them, making sure I get all the tentacles good, because they have like a lot of air pockets that could potentially not pick up paint well. Getting all that. Yeah, there's another one, and you can see that this is going pretty fast, and that's because the contrast paints just go right on. And we got 2 more left, including this one. So we'll just go back in for some more water, making sure we keep our paintbrush nice and wet. We want a wet brush, that way we can easily control these pools and where they're going. The bigger models, I'm thinking about the bigger model, not models, model. The bigger model, I'm thinking about painting the exact same way as these. However, when we get to the stage of like maybe detailing and finishing, like highlights and stuff like that, I think I'll might put a little more effort into its face and see how that goes, because it does have a little bit of detail on the face, but I don't know how much I'll be able to pull off with just a wash. Yep, and we'll just slapping all these on there like this. There, like that. There. Just again, want to double check everything. Make sure you get all the angles. Try to when you look at these models and you're putting on paint like this, especially when you're dealing with just a contrast paint or even a wash. Make sure you look at the model at all different angles, because all these little crevices and creases, who knows where something might pop up on you, So yeah, just try to get a lot of that off of there, and then make sure all the bubbles are off. And then there's not too much glob, pooling or anything like that. All right, one more. Then we got the main event. Okay, so this sculpt, it looks like this is the same sculpt that I already painted. So if we look at here, this is where we're starting with the white base coat with the primer, and this is where we'll end up at, hopefully, or at least close to it, right? It's when you're doing these speed paintings and contrast paints, I should say, sometimes they don't look exactly the same every time, but I think that's good because it gives them just a little bit of variety, right? A little bit of variation in how they look and all that good stuff. What I really like about this particular sculpt and why I did it first was this backbone. I think the backbone just looks really cool, really gruesome, really dark, right? Very horror-esque. And one thing I noticed on my first time I did this, and I didn't really like, I put a lot of shadowing around this particular that particular, what do you want to call it, tendril. I'm going to try to avoid that this time. I mean, it's not bad that I put a lot there, it's just, I don't know, I kind of wanted it to be just a little bit highlighted, and then that red, I really wanted it to pop out of there. Which the red did pop it, but I wanted it to be a little bit more accentuated, and I think the darkness of the wash and then the other wash. I think it just took it a little too far. So how I prepped these models, I didn't do any of the, you know, oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart here. Hold on. I didn't do any cleaning up on the mold lines. There we go. Wow. Don't know why that was hard for me to think. I didn't do any cleaning up on the mold lines. I just kind of left them. Since we have so many to paint here, and then I actually have another row back there, not of these models, but of a different model set. And I just wanted to get them all done, right? And if I'm sitting here cleaning all the mold lines up, I'll be here forever. So I just kind of left them on, but I did wash them in warm soapy water. That was the first thing I did, making sure that, you know, nothing was, you know, stuck on there from the release agents or whatever from the factory. Got all that out of there. Clean that off a bit. That way we can get some of this extra in here. We have a lot of extra. Got some of that out of there. There we go. Some out of this one too. And this would be a little bit darker. Okay, so here is the lady that also came with this set. She just doesn't have much in the way of detail for me to look at. So let me zoom in here, maybe. I'm gonna take a good close look at her. I mean, it's there. It's just that my ability is not that good. So I'm hoping that this speed paint really takes it home for me. And then we'll do detail work on her, obviously, afterwards. But I'm hoping that this takes it really far, and then we'll see where it leads, basically. So we're just going to kind of put it all on her, just the same way as we do with all the others. See, and I'm hoping that I don't have to paint like eyes or anything like that, and just this stuff alone takes it really far. Now what I will do is I'll try to do, you know, detail work that will bring out some of the other elements that I could paint. Maybe is a strong word here. But we will give it a shot. Luckily, there isn't much model here to actually paint, so whatever we get on here is just kind of like, that's it. But I do feel like, I mean, the sculpt isn't bad. I don't want to say. It's more of this along the lines of, they're so small, the details, that I don't think I could do it justice on what they actually have here. So I think we're just going to leave her like that. And maybe we'll hit some of her boils, maybe with like a pink or something. And then we're definitely going to do her hair a different color. Maybe like a white or something. I don't know if she's wearing pants. I'm going to say she isn't. Because like there's a weird strap thing going in here, but that could be like a back fold. But she is wearing like a strap on her bra, so I will paint that. Yeah. I don't know. I think this is going to be a very subtle miniature. And then the big Kazehage right here. Or Kazekage. This one we're going to paint exactly the same, but like I said, they have a little bit of detail in the face that I'm going to try to bring out in the detail step. We'll see. And there's a lot of teeth and stuff. Whoops. There's a lot of teeth and stuff down here at the bottom, and I'm hoping I can get some of that out of there as well. So we're going to go on a little heavy here because they got a lot of crevices and creases here. So we're going heavy but quick. I'm going to get all those little feeties and toesies. Gonna spin around here to the front. There's a weird back like flap thing, and I'm going to try to get that with this as well. I don't know if I can, but we're going to try. I'm hoping that most of it just kind of falls down in there, the wash. If it falls down in there, I think we're going to be good. Because if it falls down in there on its own, I won't have to do any of the work trying to like paint that stuff. So I'm just trying to move my brush in a manner that gets everything back in there. Yeah, these speed paints are pretty expensive per pint, but man, do they work well. I tell you what, Games Workshop, they charge a lot, but I think they really create product that, especially for paint, and I mean their miniatures are good too, but for paint, like they know how to make paint stick to miniatures and bring it out and stuff. Now I'm not saying that nobody else can. I'm just, you know, we're using Citadel right now, and so that's what I'm talking about. There are there's a lot of other speed paints that came out since these, right? And I think they're all pretty adequate as well. So, you know, I'm not saying one's better or one's worse. I'm just saying, you know, speed paints have definitely changed the game for me, especially since, you know, I'm a dad who doesn't have much time anymore. These speed paints really help me change the game on getting minis done, getting minis, in my opinion, you know, table ready, right? Because that's all the quality I'm looking for is table ready. I'm not going into competitions. I mean, if they look cool, and the sculpts already look cool, we're just highlighting basically or accentuating, whatever you want to call it, the details that they've already worked real hard and put into all of these minis. I think we're getting a little dry here. I think I'm going to need to get a little bit of water on my brush. It's not flowing as nice as I like. And that's key, that you make sure that you notice that stuff before it gets too far. So I think after we get this pool kind of fixed. Oh, we got a lot of pooling right there. Oh. Get that toesies, get them toesies. Get that weird ankle fat. Yeah, we need some more water. There. Put some in here, put some in here. Yeah, there's a lot of weird little angles in there. And this is what I'm saying, like, you have to, when you're dealing with this stuff, move the mini around a lot, right? Up, down, sideways, hold it upside down even, you know what I mean? Anything to make sure that you see all the spots. Because one of the biggest things that could happen to you, right, while you're dealing with, or you're painting all this stuff, is later when you're showing your mini off or putting it on the field with a different light, different angle, you know, yada yada yada, you notice there's a spot you missed and it's just sitting there gaping white, you know, and it maybe nobody else would notice it, but you'll notice it, right? You'll know it's there, and then it just eats away at you. So just make sure you go over these, and like I said, as long as you look for bubbles, because that's like a key spot on where a lot of these will be, is in areas where there's bubbles. And then super pooling, like that's a big one, where the pooling gets outrageous. Like there, that's way too much. And then sometimes I like bring it in real close so I can really take a look, because I got old man eyes at this point in my life. And just kind of go through all of them. I'm just touching them up real close to my eyes. And then what I'll do is I'll wash off the brush, kind of dab it off, make it, now it's like it's moist, it's not really wet, but this will allow me to go in here, kind of suck up any of that extra stuff, and we can just wipe it off. Just wipe it off. Because we do not want our face to be muddled. We don't want it to be totally saturated with this pooling, right? We just want this to be a little bit of an effect. I would say this is probably like maybe 90% of our paint job, right? So we don't want to, we're going to spend a little bit of extra time here, but it's in the grand scheme of things. I mean, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then here's a big one, 7, right? We got 7 dudes painted up pretty quickly. And like I said, this is, I would say probably, this is going to be probably 85% of the entire paint job. So like we're almost just done. The other little bit that's left over, it's just going to be highlights and maybe, you know, a little bit of accents here and there. Too much. Yeah, and you can see we're just pulling away some of this pooling here. We're just pulling it away. And yeah, and you see we don't want to pull too hard because you'll rip some of that paint off, revealing that the staining, and we don't want any of that. Another thing that you could use if you have a lot of bubbles is you can use maybe like a little torch. If you have like a little hand torch or something, maybe a lighter, but be really careful. Or what you could do is you could take a straw, like a, you know, like a McDonald's straw or something, and just blow at the model. This will get a lot of that extra stuff away from you too. Go. Yeah, we definitely want to try to keep that face as detailed as possible for us. So making sure we have no pooling there that would be taken away from the model. It's very important. I really need like a, I had a bunch of what do you call those? Like they're not really napkins, but and they're not paper towels. They're like a stronger. Dang, what are they? Memory foam? Is it? No, not memory foam. Emery cloth? No. I don't know what they're called. Sometimes people use them for cleaning their glasses and such. I know this is why everybody comes to these videos, man. My perfect and expert commentary. I know all things at all times. Cannot be challenged on that. Anyway, there we go. So, that's all of these. And then we clean off our brush. Close that up, because we won't need that anymore. There we go. Get that out of there. Alright. Make sure you clean off your brush really well. Especially when you're dealing with these contrast colors. They like to stick inside of these brushes. If you have a little bit of brush soap, I would use that. If you don't have brush soap, maybe just use like a little, you know, little bit of maybe Dove or something, just to, not Dove soap, Dawn, there it is, Dawn soap. That would probably work too. But in the next video, we'll be moving on to the next stage. And the next stage will be adding the red and the detail work, which would be I'm using a light gray for like bone and other kind of stuff like that, and then a very pinky color, which it's extremely pink. But what this will do is once we add our gloss Agrax Earthshade, which gives us that nice little shimmery look here at the end. If we zoom in again, it gives us a nice shimmery look. That is going to be due to that Agrax Earthshade and the gloss. But yep, hope everybody enjoyed this video. I will see you all in the next one. Till then, peace out.